This new tax credit for manufacturing, though, also included, we just don't exactly know more specific details than that.
No, we don't. And Kamala Harris right now, I mean, she joined the race with only a few months to campaign as opposed to a year and a half or 4 years that candidates normally have. And she doesn't want to lose a single solitary vote, right? She doesn't want to anger anyone. So she's keeping the policy book, her speeches at this very sort of general level where she's for workers and she's for employers and she's for capitalism and she's for, tax credits and for building the middle class. She's just going to be out there trying to make everyone happy and run the clock for 41 days, I think.
Now, Wendy, in terms of, appealing to the masses, she was in Western Pennsylvania today, and I presume trying to paint herself as pro-labor, right. And there has been concerns about that. Do you think she succeeded in that today?
I think she did, yes. I mean, she says all the right things to unions, and there is this, the Trump campaign is trying to make a big deal about how she didn't get the Teamsters endorsement, which they didn't get either, but they are making a big deal about how a Democrat did not get the labor endorsement. She did get the endorsement of several locals or regional Teamsters unions and many other unions, but and she is promising to do all those things. She is also promising, as a centrist, to make it easier for companies and manufacturers to get the capital they need to keep going. So she's really, like I said, trying to, stick to that middle ground there.
And of course, it's not a coincidence that she was giving this speech in Pittsburgh in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. Donald Trump, meantime, was in North Carolina and Georgia to give his own economic policy speeches over the course of the last 24 hours or so. You obviously know Pennsylvania very well, Jonathan. Do these specific messages resonate better in that state than some of the other battlegrounds we're talking about, given its industrial history?
Yeah, I think, Pittsburgh is really emblematic of that kind of former manufacturing town, and a lot of the places, Pittsburgh itself has really been, revitalized by turning more towards the tech sector. But a lot of the areas around Pittsburgh had really suffered economically for a long time, lost a lot of the manufacturing. And that's where some of this message, her support of labor unions, probably plays really well. And I think it's similar in states like Michigan and Wisconsin, pretty similar demographically, pretty similar economically. Different. Those states are different from some of the Sun Belt states, right, that are growing, that have had more newer industries and newer economic engines, whereas those northern battlegrounds have kind of lost some of their population and lost some of their manufacturing over time. So those three, I think, all kind of move together economically and politically.
Pivoting to another election issue closer to D.C., the House has just passed the continuing resolution that would fund the government until December. And Speaker Johnson had said it would be political malpractice to shut down the government now. Who would have gotten the blame if the government had shut down?
Pretty clearly Republicans, and I think even Speaker Johnson knew that, which is why ultimately he didn't really push this fight very far. He proposed one bill, it didn't work. And then he moved to the fallback that pretty much everybody agreed on. House Democrats, or Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans and Senate House Democrats were all on the same page. So House Republicans were kind of on an island, and even they weren't really united around this idea that Johnson put forward. There's a lot of Republicans in his own conference that just wanted to do what they ultimately did today. So I'm not really sure what the last 2.5 weeks accomplished, which is why I think they voted early, and they're all getting out of here this afternoon.
Doing the song and dance, I guess, just for the sake of doing it. And of course, we won't see them again until the lame duck session. And that's something that Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries talked about before this resolution passed today.
The three unresolved issues that need to be addressed are, first, funding the government, avoiding a shutdown. Second, making sure we, of course, pass the National Defense Authorization Act to ensure our military readiness in an increasingly dangerous world. Third, it will be important to see if we can find a path forward and reauthorize the Farm Bill.
But of course, when they attempt to do this work upon their return to Washington, Wendy, Hakeem Jeffries might know if he's speaking as the presumptive future House Speaker in the next Congress, and Mike Johnson might be in an entirely different position as well, and that's likely to affect how lawmaking actually happens in those weeks, right?
Absolutely, and we were talking about this before the show. It's a sort of bizarre scenario. Also, will we know by the time they come back who the next president is? There's a very likely chance, if this is very, very close, that it's going to drag out for a while. If Donald Trump does appear to lose, we are sure he's going to challenge it at least. Even Democrats are gathering lawyers for a fight. So there's that chaos. And then, as you said, are Republicans in charge of the House or Democrats? Who's running the Senate? And it will be the old Congress that will negotiate this. But they have to look ahead only a few weeks to when the new Congress comes in and can deal with undoing it, I guess, if they want to.